So back in the van now, just a quick summary of the inspection that was carried out. Overall, the building's okay. It is an aged fibro detail, or building with the aluminium cladding added over fibro cladding. So obviously buried aged fibro that contains asbestos does exist. The property is serviceable, meets the intended purpose as such. There has been a bit of a history of pests, and you've got borer damage to floorboards, which is quite common in this style of construction. In general terms, it is an aged building. Obviously, some improvements are necessary. There's a lot of detail in the actual report itself. Take that into consideration. If you've got any questions, get back to me and ask me any questions that you may have. Property to be inspected is self-standing timber frame clad construction. A metal tiled type roof, it appears. I'll have to check that once I get closer up. Planned overgrowth against the front of the dwelling. The dwelling is facing due west for the purpose of the report. Land has a bit of a gradient from east to west as such. Concrete driveway detail generally appears to be okay. A couple of cracks with settlement has occurred. There is still crossover with the council nature street. In the front yard, there's a sewer pit. Quite possibly there is some sort of easement to the front of the property, and worthwhile checking with the on the contract or on the sewer diagram if that is the case. Metal fence to the front of the property with the roller gate. That gate quite possibly will need some attention. Obviously caught up with some of that planned overgrowth through the gate. Zinc detail just along the northern boundary. A bit of rust to the top railing and the uprights. Worthwhile just painting those details to prolong the durability of that metal fencing. Carport detail, the drain from the guttering is just free flowing to the ground and draining off over the ground. Always preferable to get drains connected to an appropriate stormwater dispersal system. The other drain appears to be connected to some sort of dispersal system on the other side. Detail, certainly some of these middle sections could do with a repaint. As a general rule of thumb, always good to wash these details once every 2 years, repaint once every 8 to 10 years as such. Front porch detail, a tile detail, obviously a concrete slab of some sort. With the plant overgrowth, always a concern that you get plant overgrowth that could provide termites with concealed egress, and as the plant overgrowth grows between the various elements, it grows in girth, and as it grows in girth, it can cause damage to the various details. So you've always got to consider the visual amenity of plant overgrowth, or the shading that it provides, compared to the risk factor. Exterior of the building is aluminium cladding, so aluminium cladding really easy to maintain as such. Just keep it washed, keep it clean, and you should get plenty of durability. Warning over the front porch, not the ideal detail. They've done these the steel trusses, but the span of the batten details are really oversized for the size of the actual timber batten on a metal roof of that type. What you've got to make sure is that you don't walk on such a roof detail, because you will cause damage and possibly break the roof detail. Entry door detail generally appears to be okay. The walls no higher than normal. Most readings observed ceilings are a fibrous plaster. Being an aged ceiling, you will get some degree of sagging simply because of exposure to humidity over many years. Smoke alarm fitted. I've not tested the smoke alarm at this point of time. We do have a hall closet and a linen press. Timber flooring is exposed timber flooring. The floors, the timber species itself is either a hoon or a hoop pine. That sort of timber is susceptible to the likes of a Nobium punctatum or a furniture beetle type damage. So it's one of those things that normally occurs in this type of flooring. Southwest bedroom generally appears to be quite okay. Obviously the walls are an aged detail, so the wall linings do have slight imperfections due to the age. Ceiling appears to be fine. Aluminium sliding window to the western side is okay. Built-in robe, wheels of those sliding doors is quite okay. The door of this bedroom is binding and just needs to be eased and adjusted accordingly as part of general ongoing maintenance. In the flooring in this bedroom, we can see that Nobium punctatum or furniture beetle borer that's been in this flooring. Once you see that species of timber, you do expect that borer will exist. Now, realistically, there's no effective treatment for it as such, and it's just a matter that if it gets really bad, you may need to replace 1 square metre or 2 square metres of flooring. But plenty of houses in Sydney have plenty of that sort of damage to it. Bathroom detail contains shower recess, toilet, vanity type flooring. There is a visible floor waste in this instance. A bit of moisture damage to the base of the door frame, where moisture has been coming in from the shower recess into that door frame, and they've sort of put sealants over the top, but that's not the correct repair. Ideally, you should get a proper seal redone to the shower recess, mega sealed or dye seal, about $550 for such a shower recess. Glazing in the shower screen is shattered. It is a laminated glazing, so at least it hasn't broken off, so it's still serviceable, but just be aware of that. Toilet itself is stable, functional. Water flows fine, no cracks to the porcelain, and no leaks to the plumbing. Aluminium sliding window looks to be okay. Just with the architraves above the sink, steam has caused those architraves to swell and deteriorate, and they just need a bit of attention. Water flow is fine, no water hammer has been observed. Within the shower recess, we've got the tap spindles. Very important to keep the surrounds of the tap spindles properly sealed. What we worry about is water running down the wall tiles into the wall cavity, and that moisture at elevated levels having the potential to attract the likes of termites. So really easy to do. Just remove these tap handles, remove the covers, apply a sealant in around the spindles, seal it off properly, and that eliminates the potential moisture problem that could potentially attract the likes of termites. Water flow to the shower rose is fine, no water hammer observed, and there is an extraction benefit of the ceiling. A little bit of build-up of felt, worthwhile cleaning that off periodically as part of general ongoing maintenance. Looking at the walls thermally, we get to see the timber framing. All appears to be pretty straightforward. Get to see the studs, noggins, and the like, and really no thermal inconsistencies that raise any particular concern. Do see that with the clad dwelling, you do get a little bit of humidity or vapours transpiring through to the base of the wall detail. It's a natural occurrence of this type of construction. Lounge room detail, timber flooring generally appears to be okay, reasonably sturdy. Aluminium windows all appear to be quite okay, as does the ceiling. Wall-mounted air conditioning to the northern wall. That air conditioning unit is in working order and appears to be okay. With any air conditioner, you may need to service it from time to time. So looking at the wall framing of the lounge room, not getting any significant thermal inconsistencies. All appears to be pretty straightforward and quite reasonable. See a couple of bracing timbers within the wall cladding under the air conditioning, but that's about it. Bedroom to the southern side, again exposed timber flooring. Walls generally appear to be okay. Aluminium window do have cracked glazing in this instance, so you need to get a glazier in to replace that sort of glazing where you get the breakage. The ceilings, cornices, you do get a deflection. Now on the southern side, you're always going to get more of a deflection to those details simply because you get a lot more condensate occurring to those particular details. It's a natural occurrence. Floor detail just behind the bathroom or near the toilet. Evidence where moisture has come through from that bathroom into the floor and into the grain of the timber over time. It is just the decay and the discoloration in this instance. Not a major deal. No current moisture coming into that detail. Again, you get the borer damage to the various floorboards. That's pretty consistent throughout the dwelling. So looking firmly at the wall details, it generally appears to be okay. Now, with the thermal insulation, you can really see where there's no thermal insulation. Those are the areas where most of the condensate is going to occur, and that's the areas that you can certainly see that little bit of sagging to the ceiling details. Overall, we look at that moisture markings, certainly no evidence of current moisture penetration in the surrounding areas. Looking thermally, just the rear of the shower recess, and we can actually see where around those taps you get the moisture leaking into the wall detail, and that moisture has the potential to attract the likes of termites. Very interesting that you can actually see that thermally in this instance. Dining room detail generally appears to be pretty straightforward again. Exposed timber floorboards, walls look to be okay, and additional smoke alarm for this area. I've not tested that smoke alarm. Looking at the framing, again, no significant thermal inconsistencies. All appears to be quite reasonable, pretty straightforward. Kitchen detail, timber flooring, laminated particle board bench top, stainless steel sink, no dishwasher under the bench top in this case, electric stove, oven under the stove, and non-ducted range hood over the stove detail. Generally, details appear to be in working order and quite reasonable. The oven does not appear to have been recently used. I've not tested that item. A few scratches to the bench top, pretty consistent with years of ongoing wear and tear as such. A few of the doors just need to be used and adjusted slightly as part of general ongoing maintenance, quite typical for any kitchen of that type. Shelving under the kitchen sink will get be exposed to humidity naturally. You do get condensate forming to the underside of sink details, and that condensate contributes to the humidity that causes some of that wear and tear. Water flow to the kitchen sink, fine. A little bit of a water hammer just on the hot water line. A plumber can fit a pressure equaliser valve to try and minimise any sort of water hammer if it really becomes a problem. The mixer tap nice and sturdy, no leaks to any of the seals. The interface between the kitchen bench top and the tiled splashback, very important to keep that well sealed. What we worry about is moisture dropping down the rear of the kitchen cupboards, and that moisture in turn having the potential to attract the likes of termites. Aluminium window appears to be fine. Ceilings are fine. Various areas above the ceilings. Thermal insulation just needs to be redistributed for better insulation, but overall things appear to be okay. Obviously with a kitchen ceiling you get a lot more sagging simply because of steam from the cooking and the like over many years. A sort of a hole or lock area just in front of the laundry. The timber flooring in this area, we get this black marking around the nails. That indicates that subfloor ventilation in this area is poor and that you get a build up of humidity. That humidity gets absorbed by the flooring and causes rusting of the nails over a prolonged period of time. So we'll get in underneath there and check the conditions, but obviously the subfloor environment would be nice to get it improved. Overall, wall details appear to be fine and no major issues. Some of the wall linings in this area do appear to be a fibro, and a fibro that is aged and likely to contain asbestos. Laundry detail, tiled flooring, no visible floor waste in this instance, so if you get a burst washing machine hose or the like, you're not going to have drainage through the floor, something that you may consider. The laundry contains the appliances and the tub. The water flow is fine. No water hammer observed. You may consider just getting new tap sets as such, but that's nothing major. And just the tub fixing to the wall, improving that detail as such. Interior of the laundry is fibro lined, both ceiling and walls. That fibro being aged fibro more than likely to contain asbestos. Any alterations or future renovation works, you always need to err on the side of caution and take the appropriate measures to protect yourself as far as your lungs go. Toilet stable, functional. No cracks to the porcelain. Drainage appear to be okay. A couple of leaks from the seals, and that needs a bit of a repair from the system detail. Just some maintenance, quite easy for a plumber to fix that up. Hot water unit is located within the laundry, 250 litre capacity. Manufactured in 2003, so 10 years old. The aluminium window to the southern side of the laundry has damaged the stile, and that needs to be repaired and reglazed with appropriate glazing rubber. The rear bedroom, this detail is a little bit rough in the sense that the walls are a little bit wavy or out of alignment. The ceilings certainly have quite a bit of deflections. It is a rate ceiling. No access can be gained into the roof void in this instance, so faults or termite damage could go undetected. Really important to seal off various gaps that do develop and maintain this detail and also ventilate the detail. They've also installed a floating floor over the existing floor, where you get a floating floor and a ground floor detail like this. There is a risk that if termites do get in, that they can spread under such a floating floor and go undetected for quite some time. So you just got to realise that risk. It doesn't indicate there's any issue. The sliding doors of the built-in robe are okay. We just see under that bottom track they've got a sort of a section that indicates that the floor's a little bit out of level. Aluminium window to the rear, overall, still serviceable. Doors okay. Some of these internal doors do have a bit of binding, but this one's quite okay. So looking at the details thermally, really not getting any significant thermal inconsistencies. You do see because of the rate ceiling that you do get a little bit of condensate drizzling down to the underside of the roofing into the rear wall of such a detailing. That's why normally we have a higher incidence of termite damage to such a rear wall. It's just the nature of things, but in this case it all looks to be structurally sound, but you've always got to anticipate that that wall is the wall that you might find some concealed damage, if any exists. Rear sunroom detail, again we've got the floating floor. Walls generally appear to be okay. The skirtings to the northern side have been exposed to a bit of moisture, causing warping of those details, and obviously the framing in behind those skirtings quite possibly have some decay too. Rake ceilings generally appear to be serviceable, and no major issues there. The glazed sliding windows, again, reasonable detail considering the age and the type. With the timber windows, we start getting these splits in the timbers. Very important to keep those properly painted so you don't get the moisture egress into the grain of the timber and the associated decay occurring. The source of the moisture quite often is just condensate to the interior of the window, drizzling down onto those sill timbers. Flooring next to the rear door is weathered. Obviously this area gets exposed to a bit of rain sort of coming in, and that's caused a little bit of weathering to those flooring details, so it's a bit unsightly. Not a lot you can do with it. You can try and buff it up a bit, but it's not going to help a lot. So looking at the details thermally, really, all appears to be okay. We can see that area where that past moisture has occurred. There's no evidence of ongoing moisture to that particular detail at this point of time. Rear wall of the dwelling, or the eastern exterior, a couple of stored items against the exterior of the building. Always the potential for those areas to provide termites with the concealed egress. You want to store unnecessary items well away from the exterior of the structure. It really increases the risk of concealed termite egress quite significantly, having stored items against the exterior of such a building. Brickwork to the rear, they're closed in the subfloor. The subfloor openings with the brickwork, and that brickwork's uneven, but you do have your pier foundation, so that's just a superficial type of brickwork in that instance. It's not as if it's a a strip foundation or the like. Concrete to the rear of the property, there's certainly plenty of cracks. Settlement has occurred to the subgrade over the years, and that contributes to these cracks. Again, it goes with the age of the building as such. The pergola attached to the rear of the property generally appears to be okay. With the timbers, really important to seal all these joints, make sure the nail holes are sealed, and that really prolongs the durability quite considerably. You see where the moisture starts wicking into the ends of or the grain of the timber. Those are the areas where the decay is going to start and really wear away at this type of detail. The better you can paint all that those exposed timbers, the more durable such a detail will be. Let's have installed metal staunches to the base of the post. That is a good thing. And the plate connection to the fascia, not the ideal detail, but obviously it appears still to be serviceable. You really only have the lightweight roof above. Underside of the metal roofing, you get the markings of where that condensate periodically forms to the underside of such a metal roof. Quite typical. Metal fascias and metal cladding to the edge soffit linings. Some of these windows have been replaced with a fibro or compressed fibre cement. You may choose to get those windows reinstated with proper glazing in the future, and any of these exposed timbers, again, worthwhile painting those up and finishing them off properly. All external timbers should be painted properly. As we start to come down the northern side, surrounds the windows, we see the moisture gets into all these joints of the timbers, and you start to get the decay. Very, very important to keep those timbers well sealed. You don't want to go and replace windows and the like, and the better you can paint it up, the more durable those details will be. In this case, there's a couple of openings to the subfloor, which is good. Again, stored items against the exterior could provide termites with that concealed egress. The aluminium cladding itself, nice tidy job in general. Just with the fascia details, a couple of repairs are needed where they've done the alterations, when they've done the interface with the pergola at the rear. All the details that are easy to attend to. So coming down the southern side, this side of the pergola, again, you get those timbers that are exposed to the weather, moisture gets in around all the nails, and you get the decay, so paint all that up. A bit of cladding just needs to be reinstated in the appropriate manner, and tenor fitted this side of the dwelling. Guttering appears to be aged. It's going to have limited durability. Eventually, you may need to replace some of the guttering. Certainly some realignment of the guttering is necessary. Looking at this metal fascia, there has been a bit of damage that's occurred, or you've got thin sections of that fascia detail. Doesn't look very nice, but it's still effective. Again, stored items along this side. Keep any unnecessary items well away from the exterior of the building wherever possible. Just where the drains or stormwater goes into the drain. Worthwhile just getting a plumber in to check that stormwater is actually connected into stormwater and not into the sewer. It is illegal to connect stormwater into sewer. The collar of the sewer vent is broken and also needs to be repaired by a plumber. Just coming to the front of the property, the brick dwarf wall foundation along the front of the property is concealed by the plant overgrowth, so I can't see if there's any cracks in that brickwork. And it's certainly worthwhile pruning off that plant overgrowth away from the exterior of the building so you get airflow and you don't get a concentration of damp as such. Electrical meter board fitted to this southern side of the building. Plastic fuses, there is a leakage or safety switch that has been installed. There's no sign indicating any previous termite treatment to the property. Had termite treatment been carried out. There should have been a durable sign indicating what was done, when was done, and by whom. Located the electrical meter board. Water meter located to this northwest corner of the property. Metal fencing to the northern boundary generally appears to be quite okay and serviceable. No major issues. Good thing about metal fencing is that it's totally resistant to the likes of termites. Where you get sleepers in the yard, those timbers over time will absorb moisture naturally from the ground. Once they start absorbing that moisture, they decay. Once they start to decay, then they become susceptible to the likes of termites. Bit of timber debris in the rear yard again, susceptible to termites simply because the timbers are in direct contact with the ground. Fencing to the eastern side of the yard, again, appears to be okay. We've got these stored items up against the fence in the middle garden shed. Bit of impact damage to the garden shed. Door may need to be repaired. It is an aging detail, but still appears to serve the intended purpose. You do have rusting of the metals at the base of that garden shed, and obviously, eventually that shed may need to be replaced. Large stumps being removed from the ground and just thrown out here at the rear of the property. It looks to have been from a crep myrtle tree, but that just should be removed as a matter of good practice. Fences along the southern boundary also appear to be fine. Looking back at the dwelling, we've got the pitched roof detail. It is a concrete tiled roof, and the skillion roof to the rear. The pitched roof does not have a rotary extraction fan or whirligird fitted to the roof. Really prudent to conceal one of those whirligirds. You get a lot of humidity that accumulates within the roof void. A whirligird allows for that humidity to rise out to the upper atmosphere. When you do install one, you do need to put some vents in the east soffit linings as air intakes, and then the air goes up through those rotary extraction fans. Looking at the roof from a distance at the front, the valley metal detail is completely closed in with tiles, so I can't actually view that valley metal. Not the ideal detail. The tiles should have been separated a little bit from that particular valley. Overall, the roof doesn't look too bad. Just some of the ridge mortar does need repointing. You do have cracks and some dislodged to the base of the tile of that ridge detail, of the hip detail. So just with the carport, it appears to be sturdy. Is built right to the boundary. You just got to check if that's appropriate or the appropriate approvals have been gained to build the carport to the boundary. So looking at the roofing over the front porch detail, generally appears to be okay. It's the closed valley metal detail, the dislodged ridge hip tiles, and just localised pointing of that roofing detail is necessary. Gutters full of plant growth, that restricts drainage. Really important to get the gutters properly clean so you don't have blockages and overflowing of gutters to various areas. Bit of roofing in the middle of the carport, a bit uneven and out of level. Not crucial as such, but it would have been nice to have that all done correctly and nice and tidy, but that's not the case. Guttering to the front porch roof, a little bit of corrosion occurring again. If you paint it up, you're probably going to prolong the durability somewhat. Guttering of the dwelling itself, we see that we've got a silt build up within the gutter, and very important to keep the gutters clean. They are rusting, and eventually some replacement and realignment of gutters is going to be obviously necessary. Just surrounds the air conditioning unit, they've utilised sealants rather than flashings. Those sealants from time to time will need to be replaced. Over the top of windows, they've not put a flashing over the top of those window details, so there is the potential for a bit of moisture to get in around those window details over time. So looking at the rear roofing detail, the interface between the tiled roof and the skillion roof, not an ideal detail, but no leaks observed at this point of time. Antenna, the pole's a bit rusted. Where they've joined on the pergola, they've slid the roof sheets of the pergola up under the skillion roof. It's okay, not getting any moisture penetration, so not overly concerned. And this rear gutter to the pergola, again, rusted, is going to have limited durability as such. So I attempted to open up the roof, the access opening into the roof void. It's just stuck. We're not here to break things. Realistically, either that needs to be recreated, or in the hall, just a access opening up into the roof void that needs to be cut. Realistically, in this type of building, we know we've got the thermal insulation over the ceiling linings. That thermal insulation obviously is going to obstruct any visual inspection within the roof void anyhow of various roofing timbers, and faults could potentially go undetected even if I was to gain access into that area. Secondary is the underside of roof tiles. Haven't been able to see that, quite possibly you get condensate on them. We've already determined that it would be a good idea to get a rotary extraction fan. Being a timber frame clad house, normally the roof frame is very robust. So what I mean by that is that it can cop a lot of damage, and really it doesn't take a major effect on the structural integrity of these buildings. Quite common for these buildings simply to be cut in half, put on the back of a truck, and driven 500 k's to a new location. So they're really, really strong structures as they are. Under the house, we've got these store timbers, a fair bit of debris. Really good idea just to get everything cleaned out so airflow can be nice and consistent, get contours on the soil, and not a bad idea also to consider putting down washed sand within the subfloor as such. Looking to the underside of the floorboards, we see those the evidence of those borers. Pretty consistent with one of these vibro houses. All appears to be quite okay. Had a bit of lictus punctatum, which is your power post beetle also in some of the timbers. Really nothing overly concerning. Nothing's going to collapse as such. So getting out towards the rear of the property, very, very tight. There's been a bit of history here and there of termites over many, many years, but nothing overly concerning. This yellow and white stuff that you see over the soil, that's fungal growth. Now, with that, with the sort of fungi, it can contribute to musty odours within the dwelling from time to time. To stop that sort of growth, it feeds off the natural nutrients in the soil and the dampness in the clay that is retained in clay anyhow, because subfloor ventilation is quite good. You put some more sand down, and that sort of eliminates the conditions for it to grow to a fair degree. So here we go. We've got a drink grate. Bottled drinks used to come in these timber grates, and it was those grates that the timbers had the borers in them. People put them under houses, and that's why that Anovium punctatum or furniture beetle has arrived in this property most likely. So looking at the ancapping details, no longer effective for the intended purpose. They've rusted, and where you get that rust, obviously termites can go undetected. So you've got to rely on applying chemicals within the subfloor. So looking at the surrounds of the shower recess, has leaked in the past, and a bit of moisture has penetrated the surrounding areas, but timbers still appear to be serviceable. No current leaks observed. All the timber formwork under that bathroom detail. I do think all those timbers need to be removed. So some of these formwork timbers have a bit of a history of decay and a bit of termite damage that has occurred in them. They're obviously stripped down at some point in the past. Just around the floor waste of the shower recess, we see that we get a bit of moisture penetration coming down. That needs to be repaired by a plumber. Obviously a leak, and floor waste goes out to the exterior of the building along that southern side. No access can be gained under the front porch. Obviously a lot of debris was used as fill for the extension of the front porch detail. So now just for the conclusion, you've watched the video obviously, and you might find some of the things a bit alarming. Really, you don't have to be alarmed. It's general weathering in most cases. Yes, there are a few details that do need to be attended to, like reglazing of windows, some repairs around the shower recess and things like that. But all in all, it's not too bad, and there's nothing to be overly alarmed about. Quite average for a building of this type and this age. So a bit of a pity that I couldn't get up in the roof void. Usually I don't find too many surprises within such a roof void. So it's one of those things that was just not possible getting up there, and it is worthwhile getting an access opening cut for future inspections and future maintenance. The property serves its intended purpose. The fact is, people are living there, and a reasonably tidy interior to the property, and it is reasonably dry in general context. Moisture always has to be your main concern. It's moisture that will attract termites, it's moisture that will cause decay, it's moisture that causes deterioration of building elements in general. So if you've got any moisture issues, you always want to attend to them as a higher priority to other things. Termites, history of termites, so what? To be expected in a building of 60 plus years old, that it would have been exposed to termites at some time during that very long period of time. That's just the way it is. Termite activity is always something that is more concerning, but in this case we didn't see any termite activity, but it can be a blessing in disguise in the sense that it actually forces people to carry out termite treatment. I always look at that as a favourable thing. Conducive or areas susceptible to termites is always your main concern. So those are areas where termites can go undetected into various details, or timbers are susceptible to termites simply because they're moist or in contact with the ground. The more of those details that you can deal with and improve the detail, you're going to reduce the risk of termites to a degree, and that's the way you've got to look at it. Deferring building works or repairs, no big deal in the big picture. It just means that it's going to cost you more possibly to do those repairs a bit later on down the track. The important thing is doing the repairs, undertaking it, getting it done right, and finishing that repair and then moving on to the next. That's always really the most important thing. Most things all come down to dollars and cents, and a lot of common sense is needed when owning a property. Owning a property is rewarding, but you've got to put in the effort, and you've got to ventilate it, and you've got to maintain it. It's as simple as that. The video is really useful in the sense that you can take the video, rewind it, look at things, learn from it, and use that information to carry out maintenance, and even sort of show the tradesmen and give them directives to actually do improvements. The other great thing about the video is that you can share it with family, friends, colleagues, agents, tradesmen, whoever. Feel free to do so. The idea is that it can be used to get that information out there, so use it in that sense. I really do appreciate firstly, store a copy of the video on your computer in a folder where you remember where that actual video is, because you might want to reference it 6 months down the track, a year down the track, 2 years down the track, so certainly worthwhile keeping a copy. On a closing note, I really do appreciate word of mouth, whether it be on the internet, telling friends. It is appreciated, and I wish you the best with the rest of the purchase process. Any questions whatsoever, get back to me, ask me the questions. The idea is that you have the knowledge to make a prudent decision, and that's what we endeavour to give you or help you with getting.